children never forced their way inside. They did not scream. They did not threaten anyone. They simply stood outside the door and quietly asked, "Can we come in?" At first, they looked like ordinary children, lost, cold, maybe even frightened. But the moment people looked into their eyes, something changed. Witnesses said their bodies froze before their minds could react. There were no whites in their eyes, no visible pupils, no separation between the iris and the darkness. The entire eye was completely black. And the strangest part was this. The children always asked for permission. Permission to enter the house. Permission to get into the car. Permission to step into whatever space you were alone in. For years, many people believed this story began with a man named Brian Bethel, a journalist from Texas. He claimed that one night while sitting alone inside his car, 2 children approached him. And according to his story, their eyes were completely black. The post spread rapidly across the internet. People were horrified. But over time, questions began to appear. Some researchers claimed parts of the story did not fully line up. Others argued it was simply an internet horror story, a modern urban legend, a made-up experience that spread too far. But the truly disturbing part came afterward, because after 2006, similar sightings reportedly began appearing again. Across multiple states in America, Texas, Oregon, Florida, then beyond the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and eventually parts of Asia. Different countries, different languages. Yet people kept describing the same thing. Children appearing late at night, emotionless voices, completely black eyes, and the same repeated request. Please let us in. If the original story was fake, then why did the sightings continue? Tonight's story is not an officially confirmed case, but for decades it has remained one of the most unsettling modern urban legends on the internet. The Black-Eyed Kids. The story of the Black-Eyed Kids was never a clear criminal case. It did not begin with police reports. There were no official investigations, no documented evidence. What first captured public attention was a personal story shared online from Texas. A man named Brian Bethel claimed that one night he was sitting alone inside his car. Then 2 children approached him. According to his account, the children asked to be let inside the vehicle. At first they seemed normal, but as they came closer, something felt wrong. The children were strangely calm. They did not look scared. They did not cry. And their voices carried almost no emotion, as if they were repeating memorized lines. Bethel later claimed he felt immediate danger, not logical fear, instinctive fear. Then he noticed their eyes. Completely black, the story spread quickly across internet forums. People became fascinated by it. A quiet night, a parked car, children suddenly appearing out of nowhere, and eyes that did not look human. It sounded like a horror movie. But the setting felt disturbingly realistic. That realism made the story more frightening. Then came the doubts. Some people began pointing out inconsistencies in the account. Others claimed the entire thing was fabricated, an internet horror story designed to spread fear online. And honestly, that should have been the end of it. A fake ghost story. An online myth people briefly obsessed over before forgetting. But the Black-Eyed Kids did not disappear. Instead, more stories began surfacing. People from different places started describing nearly identical encounters. Late-night visitors, children asking for permission to enter, black eyes, emotionless voices. And that was the part people could not explain. If the original story was false, why did the same details keep appearing over and over again? That uncertainty became the true fuel behind the legend. Nobody could fully prove it. Nobody could completely disprove it either. And somehow, that made it even more disturbing. Most sightings reportedly happened late at night. Front porches, empty parking lots, quiet roads, closed stores, or moments when someone was sitting alone inside a car. At first, people usually felt concern. Why were children alone this late at night? Where were their parents? Did they need help? The children were usually described as two boys, or a boy and a girl, sometimes alone, sometimes in groups of 3. Their ages seemed to range from small children to young teenagers. Their clothes appeared ordinary, not overly dirty, not obviously strange. From a distance, they looked like lost kids. But the closer they came, the more uncomfortable people became. The children were unnaturally calm. They did not seem frightened. Even while speaking urgently, their voices remained flat, emotionless, as if something was imitating the way a child should speak. The children would quietly ask, "Can we use your phone? Can we come inside? Can you give us a ride? We need to contact our parents. We do not have much time." But witnesses often said something felt deeply wrong. The words sounded polite, yet strangely empty, as if the children already expected permission. One witness reportedly described it this way: "They did not feel lost. They felt like they were looking specifically for me." That detail terrified people even more. Why that house? Why that car? Why always someone alone? The fear surrounding the black-eyed kids is not loud. There are no violent attacks, no sudden screams. Everything remains quiet, slow, patient. The children simply wait outside the door, hoping you will invite them in. Years later, many witnesses claimed they still could not forget the eyes. At first, the eyes are usually hidden. The children stand in dark places, under weak porch lights, beside car windows, at the edge of parking lots, sometimes with their heads lowered. At first, their faces seem difficult to see clearly, and for a moment, people convince themselves these are simply frightened children. Then the children look up, and everything changes. There is no white in their eyes, no visible pupil, no normal human detail. The entire eye appears completely black, like polished glass, or an empty hole with no depth. Witnesses often described an overwhelming sense of fear the moment eye contact happened. Not normal fear, something more primal. People said their bodies reacted before their minds did. Lock the door, back away, do not let them inside. Do not keep looking at them. And yet many also claimed they could not look away. The children did not attack anyone. They did not shout. They did not act aggressively. They simply stood there in silence. And somehow, that silence felt far more terrifying. Many witnesses described the same feeling, that whatever stood in front of them only looked like a child, but was not truly human. And that is why the legend survived for so long. Because the real fear was never just the black eyes. The real fear came afterward, because the children always wanted permission. There is one rule that appears again and again throughout the black-eyed kids' legend. They never enter on their own. Even if the door is slightly open, even if the car is unlocked, even if they are standing right in front of you, they wait. Then they ask, Can we come in? Please open the door. Can we get inside the car? We only need a moment. And then they wait for an answer. This detail immediately reminded many people of old vampire folklore. Creatures that cannot cross a threshold unless invited. Beings that require permission before entering a home. Of course, that interpretation belongs to the world of urban legends. But it is also one of the reasons the story unsettles people so deeply. Why did the children need permission? Why did they never force their way inside? If they truly needed help, why not ask the police? Why not knock on a neighbor's door? Why repeat the same phrases over and over again? According to witnesses, the children often became more persistent over time. At first, their voices sounded polite, then firmer, almost demanding. Yet no matter how intense the situation became, they still refused to cross the doorway themselves. One witness claimed their hand froze the moment they touched the doorknob. Another said the children's expressions turned cold after the car doors were locked. Others claimed the children simply stood there silently, staring inside the house for several long seconds before disappearing. No attack, no chase, no violence, just waiting, watching, asking for permission. And that quiet patience became the most terrifying part of all. This is where the legend becomes even darker. Most stories end the same way. People refuse to let the children inside. The children eventually leave, and nothing else happens. But according to the legend, there were also people who said yes, people who opened the door, people who allowed the children into their homes or into their cars. Now, to be clear, none of these stories have ever been officially confirmed. There are no verified police records, no medical documentation, no proven evidence connecting any tragedy to the black-eyed kids. But the rumors continued spreading anyway. And those rumors made the legend far more disturbing. According to the stories, some people who allowed the children inside later experienced terrifying misfortune, unexplained illnesses, sudden physical decline, strange accidents. Some stories even claimed entire families suffered afterward. Again, there is no official proof that any of this truly happened. But urban legends grow strongest in places where certainty disappears. And that uncertainty left people asking the same horrifying question. If someone really opened the door, what exactly entered with them? Was it simply a child, a sickness, a curse, or something pretending to be human? What makes these stories frightening is not the ending. It is the decision itself. The children never forced their way inside. They never broke windows. They never attacked anyone. The door was opened willingly. The invitation came from the person inside, and somehow that idea feels far more unsettling. Because the danger was not something that broke in. It was something you may have personally allowed inside. After 2006, stories resembling the black-eyed kids began appearing more frequently online. Reports surfaced across multiple American states: Texas, California, Oregon, Florida, different locations, yet strangely similar details. Children appearing late at night, emotionless voices, completely black eyes, and repeated requests to be allowed inside homes or vehicles. Then the stories spread beyond America, Canada, the United Kingdom, parts of Europe, and eventually Asia. In Hong Kong, rumors circulated about a child with completely black eyes wandering near apartment complexes. In Japan, urban legends began appearing about children with dark, empty eyes seen late at night in alleyways and residential streets. Even in South Korea, there were occasional online stories describing children whose eyes appeared entirely black while standing near roads at night. Of course, none of these sightings can be confirmed as the same phenomenon. The internet spreads fear quickly. A legend born in one country can easily travel across the world, absorbing local fears and changing shape as it moves. But what disturbed people was how similar the core details remained. Children, black eyes, permission, and overwhelming fear. Different cultures, different languages. Yet people described nearly identical emotions. A child standing outside at night. The instinct to help them. And at the same time, the overwhelming feeling that you absolutely should not let them inside. That emotional conflict became the center of the legend. And because of that, the black-eyed kids never remained just an American internet story. The legend kept returning in different places, wearing slightly different faces. Not everyone believes the black-eyed kids are supernatural. Some doctors and researchers have suggested more realistic explanations. One theory involves rare eye conditions. There are medical disorders that affect the iris and pigmentation of the eye. Under certain lighting conditions, eyes may appear unusually dark or distorted, especially at night. Shadows, reflections, poor lighting, and fear itself can dramatically change human perception. A frightened person may remember details differently afterward. A normal encounter can slowly evolve into something more terrifying over time. And once stories begin spreading online, people may unconsciously reshape memories to match what they have already heard. That explanation makes sense, at least partially. But even then, certain questions remain. Why do so many stories describe the children asking for permission? Why do witnesses repeatedly describe the same overwhelming instinctive fear? Why do the stories keep returning with nearly identical patterns? Science may explain why eyes look darker than normal. Psychology may explain how fear changes memory. The internet may explain how urban legends spread. But the strange behavior, the repeated requests, the refusal to enter without permission, those details remain at the center of the mystery. The black-eyed kids have never been officially proven to exist. The entire legend may simply be an internet creation, a modern ghost story that spread too far, or perhaps a mixture of fear, darkness, misidentification, and human imagination. But the story refuses to disappear because it touches something deeply human. A quiet house at night, a sudden knock at the door, children standing outside, and a calm voice asking, "Can we come in?" Most people believe children should be helped. That instinct feels natural, but the black-eyed kid's legend twists that instinct into something terrifying, because the children do not look dangerous. And yet every witness claims they felt the exact same thing. Do not open the door. Why did they need permission? Why did they never enter on their own? Why did so many people claim their fear felt immediate and instinctive? There are no answers, only stories. But if one night someone knocks on your door and you look outside to see children standing there in the dark, their eyes completely black, and they quietly ask, "Can we come in?" Would you really be able to say no? If this story left you wondering, the next one is waiting for you. Subscribe and stay with us.